Hello and welcome to a new video of the Hey Honey YouTube channel. My name is Simone. I'm a yoga teacher and osteopath based in Bavaria in Germany, and I love how the combination in osteopathy can work so well for our yoga practice. The deep knowledge we get and the understanding of how ligaments, fascia, how body parts sort of belong and move together can be so important and integrated in our yoga practice. And what I love about bringing yoga into a therapeutic movement is because we're being so aware, we use the breath and our focus, our drishti, to really feel what's happening right now. And this is something every patient, everyone should have to take himself and into wholeness, into a well-being. So I hope I can give you some good little impulses that you can use for your own practice. This is not a full practice, but we sort of looking into subtle movements, into connections that can help us get our yoga practice maybe into a little therapeutic movement or into a little deeper practice. So let's start. Thank you for joining me. So today we're going to start laying on our backs. So arrive safely on your back. Bring your feet further hip wide apart. Just drop your knees and place your feet firmly on the ground. As always, we start by arriving, closing our eyes and settle into the area we're going to target. And today it's a big part, we're starting in our feet, in the soles of our feet, and traveling up through our calves, knees, thighs, to have this connection into our pelvic area. You feel free to bring your hands sort of where your hip bones, into your groin. So how are your legs today? How's your feet? Did you have to walk a lot today, or were they still underneath a desk? What is the difficulties your legs facing, and what is it you need to balance? There's gravity, whether we are standing or sitting throughout the day. Gravity is obviously pushing, sort of the force comes from above. So therefore we start by countering this. So take your legs, take your knees, bring them close to your body. Then slowly start moving your feet towards the ceiling. Keep your arms on your side. And don't even start trying to push or straighten your legs. Leave a relaxed bend in your knees. Maybe you want to look at your toes as well. And start by playing a little bit piano with your toes and start wiggling each one. Start spreading your toes, and please take your socks off, and take your socks off more often to really having the possibility to free your toes. And then if from the movement we start shaking our toes, try with a subtle shaking. So we can address the toes first, because at the bottom of our toes, this is where one of our main fascias, the back fascia, starts. And it's super important, this fascia research right now, how the fascias of the muscles sort of run into the next one. And therefore we can find a fascia that runs from your foot into your calf, into your back thigh, over your sacrum, the whole spine, traveling up your head till sort of the point between your eyebrows. Super important information. So therefore we start shaking toes, then we shake our whole feet with all these little bones. And then hopefully the shaking also arrives at your joint, your foot joint. And maybe this shaking now sort of takes over into your legs, into your calves, into your thighs. So start moving every tissue you can find in the legs. And from just shaking, this going into a movement that is inner and outer rotation. You can also shake it there, do it quickly, or you're doing it slower and really like starting to move the hip joint and bringing rotational forces into your leg. This gives you such a good sort of stability and like connection through the spiral ligaments and fascia movements. And this is a movement we're not having in our daily life very often because we walk and everything into like a forward direction. So really loosen that up. And we're taking this rotation into the next movement by bending your knees, bringing our knees together, holding the knees together, and rotating just the lower legs. So big toes touching, heels are touching, and we're doing this more often. We can get faster. You feel a rotational movement in your knee joint, and there we have the meniscus, and often injuries from our biggest joint in the body, and we can really bring a new movement into this joint, like distributing sort of that liquid between our joint, and you can feel it maybe warming up. And then come back to the middle. We're straightening the left leg again. This time we're pulling the right knee closer. You can also start pulling it through your upper thigh or taking it on the outside. And here, with a small movement, small shift from out to inside the circle, you're bringing awareness into the hip, the upper thigh. And then you hold that knee close. And with your exhalation, you lower the left leg. Go very slow. Find sort of that deep connection between the upper body and the leg. This is a psoas movement. And the psoas like, is sort of the connector between the upper body with our legs. It is a flex, like he flexes our hip, but also outer rotates. So feel free to like slightly point your foot to the outside, very slight movement. And really like firm, bring and controlled, bring your leg up and down. We're going to swap sides. So bring the left leg close, straighten the right leg again, holding that leg close and starting to move. Also realize that a few minutes in an inverted position can help the lymph tissue and sort of the venous system in your leg so much by just bringing gravity from the other direction into your leg. So at the end of your day, feet up with some good movements can be so beneficial. Doesn't need a long yoga practice, but when you know what's right, then a few movements are enough. And then slowly lower the right leg. The hip, the pelvic area isn't moving, isn't tilting, so you find that sort of stability there. And let sort of the psoas muscle that runs through being engaged and allowing himself to do its work. Foot is pointing outward. Next time we come back up. We just keep our hands by the left knee and then slowly you can rock yourself forward and backwards and rock yourself slowly up and We're bringing our feet up and change into a kneeling pose, sitting to start with on our toes. And here we arrive. And this is such a good stretch for our feet. And this is where we start, like the feet and the connection. There we have loads of nerval endings. The arch of your foot is sort of having a parallel structure in the knee, in your pelvic floor, in your diaphragm, and here in your upper shoulder area. So we're trying to address all the horizontal lines that give our body sort of its position and to hold itself in a erected space, in erected position. So by me talking, you have now probably already felt like my foot arch and like the bones in my foot are warming up, and I have to breathe to sort of distribute that tension. And therefore, we also distribute now the strength into the front of our foot. And therefore, like we sit on the front of our foot and maybe allow ourselves to wander backwards. This is not possible for everyone. So like walk slowly, and you can start by just lifting one knee up, stretching and finding length in the front part of your foot arch. You can swap sides, or for those of you that can have a freer movement, they can lift both knees and address both feet at a time. Often we trying to lengthen and stretch our hamstrings, but we forgot that these fascias also start in the foot. Maybe we forget this little part. And then slowly we're coming back. We're bringing the arms forward, not as much forward as we would for our downward facing dog. And then we swap the feet again and we lift up. And now find a space, like not as far apart as downward facing dog, a little bit closer where it's possible for you to really firmly put your feet into the ground. From here, we're finding length for our spine, starting to move into the lower sides of our legs. And then we're trying to lift up our toes while we are here, and we're spreading out the toes and bringing them back down. One more time. Inhale, lift the toes, spread them. Exhale, push them down, and maybe you look down into your feet. Maybe you see the inner foot arch moving up as you sort of like little grab the mat with your toes. And imagine, like, feel this lift in the middle of your foot. So once here, we walk further. The feet towards the middle of the mat, the hands. Bring your feet a little bit closer than hip width together. And then we inhale, we raise up, we come up into Utkatasana, where in Utkatasana, we remember we're having the legs together, not pushing the knees into, but I'd really like you to work with your adductors in Utkatasana, sort of like engaging the inner parts of your legs. Inner parts of your legs. Just play, sort of engage, not too much, like where is sort of the point of ease. But feel like this firmness, like sort of from the midline of your body. Inhale, come up. And exhale, forward fold. This time, trying to keep the legs less bent, keep them straight. And come into a full forward fold. Your feet wander forward. Once more, you step back, this time into a full downward facing dog. And as we already spoke about that long facial line, so we now not just walking the feet up and down, because sort of that's only addressing the fascia up till here. Let's address it further. By moving the head up and down, looking to your belly button, looking towards to your fingers. And obviously, feel free to rotate as you do that. We know how important rotation is. Remember that every inverted pose, now for the upper spine, like moving sort of the inner organs, like shifting them. And we also always think in an osteopathic treatment how the inner organs affect sort of the muscular skeletal side of our body. From here, like come with your left leg a little bit more into the midline. With the next inhalation, raise up the right leg and keep the leg straight. Don't fold out or like open the hips. For now, we are in a straight position. Working with the toes. Toes. Wiggle a little bit. Find connection into your lower foot in this movement. Not just the standing foot, but also the foot that is now up in your air. And then slowly bend the right knee and open up. There's so many movements in this one. And it literally goes right into your pelvic area. Address this 3 directions of the pelvic, and then slowly bring your knee underneath your body, place it down, let your foot wander out to the left side, and then slowly walk back with the left leg. This is obviously possible to do with a straight leg, or you bend the left leg too. And exhale, you lower yourself down. So now we're arriving outside upper thigh, buttocks. You inhale, you come up. And also for those who have been there with a straight leg, now slowly bend the leg. With your inhalation, you lift both knees. And with your exhalation, you bend it to the other side. Inhale up. Exhale to the other side again. Do this a few times. And then wherever you are, stay with the left leg forward and bend forward. Also arriving here in that left leg. The inhalation, you come up. And I don't know about you, but often the yoga mat is too small for me. I just arrive in different positions. So are we today. So feel free to walk back. And this time we're lifting this left leg back, coming up. Again, we play with the feet of the left leg, wiggling the toes, really connecting that movement, the length in your leg, all the way up into your toe. And then slowly bring it next to your right foot into a downward facing dog. Inhale, roll forwards. Exhale, your chaturanga or vinyasa, knee, chest, chin. Inhale, cobra. And exhale, slowly back onto your heels. We keep the feet, the top of the feet on the mat, and we keep walking with our hands till we feel a slight sort of stretch in the upper thighs. And it doesn't need much, like you can, by just going a bit, like connecting your knees, like your shin bones more into the mat. It's often already sort of this deep stretch of the whole front of your leg. You can play and like see where it moves and where the impulse reaching your leg when you lift up your pelvic area. Taking a few breaths to distribute the tension and the intense feeling that often come from these deep stretches. Like breathe through, stay calm, and slowly come back. As we inhale, we sit up. And we close our eyes, feeling our feet relaxed on the floor, heels. We travel up one more time through this diverse tissue and complexity system of our leg. It makes us walk and run and being active. Having those two legs to stand on, connecting to the earth underneath. And maybe after this practice you go outside and you walk barefoot in nature. It makes you realize how much we can sense through our feet and our legs, and the energy that is traveling up into your heart space. And so bring our hands together. We end with an Om together. Inhale. Om. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope there were a few impulses that you can really use for yourself. And I hope to see you next time or somewhere else on the yoga mat. Hope to meet you in person and see you soon.